The day I chose my soul over success. I stood in front of the mirror in my dressing room, adjusting the black bow tie one last time. The reflection staring back at me wasn't Sean Connery anymore, it was James Bond. And I was suffocating. The year was 1967, and I had just finished filming You Only Live Twice. Outside, fans were screaming my name, photographers were blinding me with flashbulbs, and studio executives were counting their millions. I was the most famous man on the planet, living every actor's dream. So why did I feel like I was dying inside? Sean, we need you on set in 5. The assistant director's voice cut through my thoughts like a knife. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. This was it. This was the moment I would make a decision that everyone would call career suicide. You see, what the world didn't know was that behind the glamour and the gold, I had become a prisoner in a cell made of success. The studio heads treated me like a puppet, pulling my strings whenever they wanted another blockbuster. They controlled every word I spoke in interviews, every photograph that was taken, every move I made. I wasn't Sean Connery anymore, I was their product, their cash cow, their golden goose. The money. Pathetic. While the films were making hundreds of millions, I was being paid a fraction of what I deserved. When I asked for creative input, they laughed in my face. Just say the lines, Sean. Just look handsome and sell tickets. But the breaking point came during a heated meeting with the producers. I had suggested a change to a scene, something small, something that would make Bond more human. The head of the studio slammed his fist on the table and said, "You're not here to think, Connery. You're here to be Bond. Nothing more, nothing less." That's when I felt something snap inside me. My Scottish blood was boiling, and every fiber of my being screamed for freedom. I looked him straight in the eye and said something that would change my life forever. I am not a product. I am an actor. And if you can't see the difference, then we're done here. The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. These powerful men who controlled Hollywood empires suddenly looked like schoolboys who had been scolded by their teacher. They thought I was bluffing. They thought I would never walk away from the golden handcuffs they had placed on my wrists. But they were wrong. Walking away from James Bond at the height of my fame felt like jumping off a cliff without knowing if there was water below. The press called me insane. My agent fired me. Industry insiders whispered that I had just committed career suicide. Nobody walks away from Bond, they said. Nobody. The months that followed were the darkest of my life. Offers dried up. Studios wouldn't return my calls. I went from being the king of Hollywood to being treated like a has-been overnight. There were nights when I sat alone in my apartment, wondering if I had made the biggest mistake of my life. But you know what? In that darkness, I found something I had lost, myself. For the first time in years, I could breathe. I could choose my own projects, speak my own words, live my own life. I wasn't James Bond anymore. I was Sean Connery, and that felt like coming home. The road back was brutal. I took smaller roles, worked with lesser-known directors, and slowly rebuilt my reputation one performance at a time. Critics who had once dismissed me as just Bond began to notice my range. Directors who had once seen me as a pretty face started to see me as a serious actor. And then came The Untouchables in 1987. When I won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, holding that golden statue in my hands, I felt vindicated. 20 years after walking away from the biggest franchise in cinema history, I had proven that I was more than just a secret agent in a tuxedo. Standing on that stage, looking out at the audience, I thought back to that moment in 1967 when I chose freedom over fame. It was the scariest decision I had ever made, but it was also the best. That moment didn't end my career, it gave me back my life, my dignity, and my soul. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from what everyone else thinks you should want. Sometimes the greatest success comes from having the courage to define success for yourself. Subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more incredible stories to come.